Okay, it's time to add our final interaction for this game, and that's going to be piloting our boat. So our boat here has our little steering wheel. If you look in the back end of the boat, you'll see this guy. So we're going to click on him. We want to get to this wheel area game object. You can also access that in the hierarchy by just expanding your ship and finding wheel area. And just like with our treasure chest, we're going to add this interactable script. And we also want to add another box collider that's going to represent our trigger. So we're going to take is trigger there, and we're going to set the size and the X value. X is probably good. We'll give it a little more width. Actually, we'll just set these both to 5 to be safe. And we'll set the center. We'll just make that 0. That's probably good. And we'll set the Z to, I guess, -2. Yeah, -2 is perfect. Cool. So now we've got this trigger in front of our steering wheel here. Next, what we want to do is go into our ship script, and we're going to add a method that allows us to toggle the control on our ship. So all we need to do is, remember, we added this if piloted statement into our ship script here. We need to drop down between our process, the beginning of private void on trigger enter and this bracket before it. We add a little space. We're going to say public void toggle control, and then our parentheses and our brackets. And we're going to say piloted equals exclamation point piloted. And this is a very nice use of the exclamation point. If you remember, exclamation points with Booleans mean it's the opposite value. So we don't have to say piloted equals true like we would here, or piloted equals false like we would here. What this will do is make it always that when we call toggle control, piloted, if it's true, will be set to false, or if piloted is set to false, it will be set to true. And that's all we need to add for our ship script, but we actually need to hop over to one more script and add another method. So we're going to hop over to our player script, and we're going to drop below our update function outside of the bracket, but before our class bracket, add some space, and we're going to add a public void toggle control, just like the other one. And in this one, we're going to say if controlling ship. So if we are controlling the ship, we want to say, and we toggle the control, that means that we want to stop controlling the ship. So to stop controlling the ship, we need to set our player controller and enable it. So we're going to say true. And we're going to say if we want we need to re-enable our collider because we're going to disable that when we're controlling the ship. So we'll say my collider.enabled is true, not tour. And we're going to say controlling ship is equal to false. And we're going to say transform.parent is equal to null. And this will all make sense when I say if we're not controlling the ship, and we add our else statement here, we want to say controlling ship is true because we are controlling the ship. We want to disable our controller. So we say controller.enabled equals false. We want to disable our collider. Say collider.enabled is false. Because those two things both of those feature colliders, and it will interact or interfere with our boat's ability to sail if we have colliders on our player. So we want to disable those for that reason. And the last thing we want to do is set our transform.parent equal to find object of type ship, and then in those angled brackets you type ship, and then add an open and close parentheses, and we say ship.transform. What this is going to do is make it so that our player becomes a child of our boat in the hierarchy, which means that wherever our boat moves, our player will also move. And we want to double check before of course we want to save all of our scripts so we're done, but we want to double check and make sure we've got all of our code that's in update is not only in the update brackets, but also in the bracket for if controlling ship. If all that is good to go, then we can save. And we can now, even with our player over here on the dock, we can hit play. Obviously, if I press WASD, I'll move, but the boat won't. If I hit the P key, it'll teleport me back to my boat. And then if I am standing in front of the wheel and press E, nothing will happen. And again, that's because we forgot to assign our Unity events. So this can be A bit tricky because you have to do this in the inspector every time. There's not really a great way to do this in code. So we're gonna stop playing. We're gonna go over to our ship and click on the wheel area once more. And we're gonna click the plus sign twice this time. In the first empty none object field, we're gonna drag our ship object, and we're gonna go down, we're gonna click no function, we're gonna click ship, and we're gonna hit toggle control. And then in the second one, we're gonna do the same thing, but with our player pirate. So we'll drag the player pirate in. Excuse me, we're gonna click player, and then we're gonna go down to player control. So now when we're interacting with the wheel here, we'll actually toggle control for our player and for our ship. So now if we hit the P key and we move over and we press E, you'll see you can't move anymore. But if you press W, the sails will unfold. And if you press D, you can turn the boat. And now you can actually sail around. And if, for example, you were to press the E key again, you stop the ship and press E, now you can move around and you no longer have to be tied to the boat. And you can jump off, you can go explore islands, you can go wherever, and then if you press the P key, it'll bring you right back to your boat.